People are alarmed by rise of lèse-majesté cases across the globe. We're not just talking about Europe, but mostly Asia. And I wanted to dedicate this video to this specific topic because I think it's important that we address it and that we actually clarify what happened in so many countries over the past years and how such lèse-majesté cases actually came about. It's really important for us to know that. And by the end of watching this video, you will understand what you should and shouldn't do if you are in a country that's pretty much a monarchy. You know, whether it's a pure monarchy or a constitutional monarchy, it doesn't really matter. You have to be really careful in certain countries. I wanted to give my condolences to the royal family of Britain because, as you probably know, Queen Elizabeth II died. She passed away not too long ago, and it's very unfortunate because she was in power for such a long period of time and she was a well-respected queen, and that was a big loss for the royal family of Britain. Charles III is the new king of England. And what I wanted to point out here is that people were protesting all over the UK pretty much because they don't want this imperialism to continue, you know? They don't like imperialism. They want it to discontinue. So people actually protested in the streets of the United Kingdom to end this. But the problem here is that some of the protesters were arrested. You'd think that this is a country where freedom of speech is accepted, and it is. It's perfectly accepted in most cases, but now that we had seen, you know, people were arrested because of something very trivial, something very insignificant, if you will, you know, people start to really question the freedom of speech rights in a very developed country like England, for instance. You know, it's very, very disappointing. And I think that shouldn't happen. I think people should have the right to express themselves freely. And I think this was definitely now a warning shot towards people, you know, pretty much telling them, you know, you got to keep your mouth shut, especially during a time where somebody died, which is, of course, a time where you should be more considerate, I think. But at the end of the day, you know, freedom of speech should always be allowed. I wanted to talk with you about some countries where insulting the king or queen, whoever is in charge, the monarch, is actually not accepted at all. So if you do it in those countries, you're looking at serious time in the can. We're talking jail time. And there's a couple of countries, like I said, and you know, you probably know these countries anyway. If you've been to these countries, then you probably know that you need to be very careful about what you say. Saudi Arabia has one of the strictest lèse-majesté laws in the entire world. I hope I'm pronouncing the word right. I don't even know how it's pronounced. But you know, if you're insulting, you know, the king of Saudi Arabia, you know, you're looking at 5 to 10 years in prison. So, and that insult, you know, what is an insult? That's always the question. And there's no definite answer to this question. It could just be you making fun of what the king or queen wears. It could be you mocking the king or queen. It could be something like you insulting the king or queen on social media. You can't do anything like that. You just can't. You know, especially if you're in the country. If you're not in the country, then you can probably do it and get away with it. But if you're in the country, you know, you got to keep your mouth shut at all times to avoid any potential trouble. Now, Thailand is among the worst countries when it comes to the lèse-majesté law. I know there have been so many people jailed in Thailand in recent years for very insignificant things, you know, where you would say, wow, I can't even believe that that was the case. I can't believe this happened. But in Thailand, you know, if you insult the king or queen, you know, whoever is in charge, you're looking at serious time in jail. 3 to 15 years for each offense, okay? So if you offended the king or queen of Thailand 17 times, you know, you could be put in jail for life. You know, there's no way to appeal it. And what is an insult is really up to the king or queen. You know, they decide if it was an insult or not. You don't make that decision. Like the government does not make that decision. The king or queen makes that decision themselves. So that's how it works in Thailand, you know, and that's just one of the countries, you know, in Spain too, which a lot of people don't know about. Lèse-majesté laws in Spain are actually pretty strict as well, and you could get arrested for insulting the monarchy in Spain. The Netherlands, same thing. Kuwait, same thing as well. Morocco, if you visit as a tourist, the best advice is always to don't get involved at all. You know, and I understand that people now say, well, I want to live in the country, you know, I want to express myself freely, I want to live in a country where I actually have the power of freedom of speech? And then you have to ask yourself, if a country like Thailand or Morocco is for you, if you're a person that loves freedom of speech and you can't really execute that in the country where you live right now, let's say you want to become a resident of Thailand, which is practically impossible anyway, unless you get married to a Thai or, invest a serious amount of money. But even then, if this is not a good fit for you, if you feel like, well, I'm the kind of person, I'm a straight shooter. I just love to express myself freely at all times. And if I want to criticize the king or queen, then I want to be able to do that. If you think like that, then maybe places like Thailand or Morocco are just not for you. You better be in a place where freedom of speech is accepted by law. So in the event that you do say something, against the government, you actually don't get arrested at all. It's perfectly fine. You can peacefully demonstrate. And in most Western countries, that is the case. And if you can't accept that, if that's like too much for you, and if, again, this is a top priority of yours, then I would just take certain countries off your list. Because at the end of the day, I believe in living in a country where you really feel at peace. You want to live in a country where you actually feel in alignment with the laws. And you don't want to invest in a country where that's not the case, because at the end of the day, you're just one person and you can never change the legal situation of a country. If you want to move to a country where freedom of speech is not there, don't move there if that's important to you. If you want to live in a country where you can become a citizen, where you can own land, then move to a country where that's possible. Don't move to a country like, for instance, Thailand, where you cannot own land, where it's complicated to own land, or the Philippines, or whatever country. Move to a country that is more liberal, where you can actually do those things and be happy. What do you think about lèse majesté laws across the globe? Do you think they're justified? Do you think those laws should be removed altogether? What is your opinion on this subject? Leave a comment below and let us know. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'm uploading new videos on digital nomad locations, travel updates, and investment advice several times a week right now. And if you got some more time left, check out these videos.